So great to see familiar faces and familiar names. And I'm really happy this evening to connect with Irena again. Myself and Irena, our background, our initial connection was through a team coaching supervision diploma with Joe there. Hello, Joe. We were the initial cohort with David Clutterbuck and friends. And that was maybe 3-4 years ago now, maybe longer. And I've worked then with Irena as a co-supervisor with some cohorts, again in team coaching supervision, and we've got another few projects together going as well. Now, Irena is someone who is extremely passionate about the work she does. Obviously, she's a coach. She does team building, team coaching, passionate about ethics and diversity and inclusion. And she also does extensive amounts of training. She specializes in holotropic coaching, and she can explain that even more to you. I'm curious to hear about the topic this evening, the scientific background of coaching, and over to you, Irena.
Wow, hello. Thank you, Claire, for this brief introduction. Yeah, I really cherish our connection, and I've learned and grew a lot through it. So, well, okay, as you will probably see in the logo of my company name is Holotropic Development. And the holotropic actually comes, it's a coined word from Old Greek words holos and trepein. Holos means whole, and trepein is moving towards. So in literal translation, holotropic would mean moving towards wholeness. And those are the principles that I bring in all of my work, no matter if it's individuals or organizations, systems, teams. And so I've been in coaching for a quarter of a century now, I can say. And yes, very, as Claire said, very passionate about that, and very passionate about consciousness research, which again has something to do with coaching and can be employed and involved in coaching. So this is kind of my background. I've been blessed in my career to be really working with and learning from pioneers and thought leaders in the industries. So somehow, you know, I think always that because of that blessing, it is also my ethical kind of obligation to share with others what I've learned and what I got firsthand and through, of course, years of experience and practice. Yeah. So today, what we're gonna do, we will be talking about scientific roots of coaching. So now let me just check if you have the see. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. So now why? You know, coaching, I mean, as a discipline and methodology designed to create purposeful, positive change is relatively young. And like many other emerging fields, it is in constant state of change and development. So this evolution really led to many different definitions of coaching and some confusion about what coaching truly is or it's not. How does it relate, overlaps, or differs from, let's say, psychotherapy, counseling, or mentoring, for example? So with all of that confusion about something that today, you know, today it's not just methodology, it's also a global social phenomenon. It's a culture, it's a worldview that promotes lifelong learning, personal growth, constant reflection on one's beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, and so you know, in back in the days, while the dinosaurs were still walking on Earth and I was a young coach, there was a lot of these stories, and we were always talking with the colleagues, like, where does it come from? There are certain myths that I wanted to kind of confirm or, break down those myths. So this is how this lecture came into existence, from my passion about coaching, but also from the belief that in order to understand where we are going, maybe we should be aware of where we came from. So what we'll try to do is really to draw upon this extensive scientific research with aim to clarify the origins and maybe explaining the most important fields and disciplines and socioeconomic factors that led to emergence of coaching as a profession. Yeah. So now, an interesting thing, the word coach, for example, where does the word coach comes from? So what I found out is that actually the first use of the word coach dates from 1500s in the UK, where it was a thing. I mean, it was a transport vehicle, a coach, a carriage that was transporting people from where they were at the moment to where they want to be, right? So interestingly enough, as a coaches, that's exactly what we are doing. Yeah, transporting people from, or helping them to transport themselves from where they are to where they want to be. Yeah. So now uh, let me shock you right away at the beginning with a terrible complicated slide. And in this slide actually shows everything. So everything about what the research, the extensive research about author we will talk later, actually showed what are really the origins of coaching. Since we don't have so much time, we will not go through all the phases of development from ancient times to nowadays, but maybe it's worth mentioning that the first coach is considered to be Socrates. He is often considered to be the first coach because his influence on modern thought was really, really profound. His I think his most important uh, or significant contribution to coaching was this so-called Socrates method, which involved persistent questioning and self-analysis. So his famous statement, "The unexamined life is not worth living," encouraged people to think independently. And at his time, he was also condemned for disturbing a good uh, order in Athens when he lived, because he encouraged his followers to think, question, and challenge the traditional common sense and widely accepted assumptions of that time. Yeah. So what we will focus on today is this period from 60s on, let's say, because that's when the coaching as a profession, as a discipline, starts to get into existence, right? So we will start from there, and maybe talk a little bit. I don't know even how to. I don't know where to start, because there is so much to talk about, and I'm trying to kind of condense this. So, coaching as a distinct discipline has developed across several domains simultaneously, often very little with no knowledge of parallel efforts in other areas. But these two factors that you see on the slide are actually contributed the most to the emergence of coaching as independent discipline. Yeah. So one of those is, of course, global socioeconomic factors and how the zeitgeist, the sign of times that we live in, changed. And the other one is cultural changes but particularly the rise of counterculture movement that started in 60s, a little bit before, but let's say 60s, yeah. So let's start from there. You know, in 60s, what was going on was a lot in our Western world for sure. Yeah, and one of the most important influences in this context that we are talking about is the emergence of the humanistic movement that was driven by Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers, and Eric Pohls. Because the humanistic movement shifted the focus to the individual and their values and needs, surpassing the dominant mechanicistic approach of that time. So that is why it's really important. And additionally, also business began to recognize the positive effects of supervisors acting as effective coaches. They didn't call it maybe like this then, but they saw the effects of that in improving employees' attitudes and consequently also performance. Yeah. So in 70s, coaching became part of the role of human resources in organizations. While there were still no structured training programs or academic curricula or professional associations dedicated to coaching at that time, that decade really saw an increase in consulting programs and training courses that were based on coaching principles. So they might not have been calling themselves coaches, but actually consultants, therapists, organizational psychologists. They continued working with executives, with leaders, and so often using methods that are actually grounded in coaching. Yeah. Now, when we move a little bit further to 80s, what the most important influences are emergence of mentorship and business coaching. So as mentorship grew significantly during 80s, is also considered to be one of precursors of modern coaching as we know it. Yeah. Around the same time, also the self-help industry expanded. So programs like AA's 12 steps gained widespread acceptance. And that was also a big influence. The birth of executive and business coaching occurred during this decade, emerging from different leadership development programs. The first structured personal coaching program for accelerating personal transformation and what was it? And development. Yeah, accelerating personal transformation and development. So in 81 was the first coaching program. Also in this decade also laid the first foundations for defining coaching as a unique profession, regardless of the field in which it operates. Yeah. And of course, some pioneers in the field started to refer to themselves as coaches. Yeah. There was a significant increase in literature and research on coaching, and alongside that, also emergence of organizations that specialized in providing coaching services. So 90s really brought exponential growth of coaching. It really marked an era of rapid growth for the profession with public recognition and acknowledgement of its value in the public and private sectors. The other thing is that the growing complexity of socioeconomic factors really further fueled the demand for coaching. There was the rise of professional coaching training programs, coaching associations. Both ICF and the MCC were founded in 90s, 92, 95, which are today, as we know, the largest professional coaching bodies, so to say. And also the concept of coaching culture, which again brought a new discourse and maybe broadening the application of coaching in organizations. Yeah. And then, of course, moving to 21st century, another global expansion and emergence of coaching psychology. The concept of coaching culture began to take root within organizations, and later it spread into broader fields, being defined as, let me find the definition, prevailing style of management and collaborative work where commitment to the growth of the company is embedded in parallel commitment to the growth of people in the organization. So this is really important as a significant shift in perception in organizational development, in the way how employees are perceived in companies. So that's how coaching principles became embedded in organizational cultures, and because it really brought and emphasized collaboration and relationship building as an important aspect at the workplace. Yeah. Coaching psychology emerged as an academic discipline, which is important because it brings scientific rigor to coaching practices. And now, if we have a moment, maybe for a few minutes, I will stop sharing. Claire, what do you say? If we maybe go into breakout rooms for a few minutes to discuss now in this last 10, 20 years, well, you are all present as well in the field. What are you observing as a development? So,
Sure.
so let's go for maybe like, I don't know, 5, 7 minutes into a breakout room. And then when you get back, maybe you can share with us what are the main maybe thoughts or ideas. What do you think about how the coaching is developing these days?
Okay, so there's going to be around 4 people in the room, and we'll see you in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Two seconds, and the rooms are closing.
Oh, yeah, there is a minute. Another
There
minute.
we go.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who would like to share any interesting thoughts?
I'll go before I forget. So I think we had a discussion. So I started off by saying that I think the way the profession is, in my view, is plagued by credentialism, and but the view in the room was, yes, credentialism is important in terms of ethics, and there was a newer coach in the room, and then also another coach from Africa who said there are lots of other good coach trainings, but they're not necessarily credentialed with the most high profile bodies. So there was a kind of mixed view about that. That was the general view, but I think I want to see. I'd love to see your diagram again of the origin, like kind of the whole history of who we are as people, and how that actually relates to what for me is that kind of the branded word of the coaching as a branded idea. So I did that very quickly because I didn't want to forget. Said in our group.
Thank you, Matt. And don't worry, you guys gonna get the slide deck. So this crazy complicated slide, you can enlarge and see all the little details. So it's gonna be there for sure. Joe, you raised a hand.
I did. We had you in our room, but you didn't look like you. There's another Irena Antolic in this call.
Really?
But I don't
Oh,
think she
so
could
much
hear
like
us.
that's really interesting.
I know, it was bizarre. I don't know if she could hear us because we didn't hear from her. So it was just really Kim and I, Naila, we couldn't really hear because it didn't have good sound. But I mean, I didn't really share the future because, I mean, I really came because I'm very interested in the fact that I trained as a humanistic psychotherapist in the early 90s, humanistic and integrative psychotherapist, and worked as a coach in London because my experience is that the coaching and humanistic psychotherapy are exactly the same thing. And so to look at your diagram, because I've also often talk about the history of psychology and psychotherapy to explain coaching. And what I see is that for me, we're coming full circle to humanistic and integrative psychotherapy as we grow as coaches, the profession grows, and we understand the underpinnings. There is no difference. Certainly in the way that I trained. So that's that was my excitement. And when they talk about the evolution of coaching, that's what I say it is. But when I go to talks on the evolution of coaching, they talk about technology and AI. So I'm interested in that this is that diagram, and I know it well. So yeah, it's very affirming for me.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Well, as history shows, I mean, I'm also trained therapist, but I don't like to call myself that because I think therapy is for people who are sick. And mostly, as a therapist, we are actually doing deep developmental coaching. So that's
Yeah,
personal
I
stand.
think
This is not
yes.
evidence-based, just to say.
Yes, but I just do want to say I think there is that stigma attached. So partly when coaching evolved or came out, I felt like, oh, this is a wonderful way to market and move away from the stigma, is to market it, because as humanistic and integrative psychotherapists, we work with high functioning people who want to grow and develop their potential. And we're not trained as clinical psychologists in abnormal psychology diagnosis in the kind of the medical model like a clinical psychologist is. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. So that
Thanks.
was one of the reasons why I wanted to explore where we're really coming from.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about this now in the second part of the session.
Lovely.
So I would just like to hear, let's hear from Te Benitez.
Yeah, sure. Hi, good evening. This is Te. I'm from the Philippines, and Emma is from Bahrain. So we had a very nice conversation. And it's interesting that as we shared the idea and what coaching is, continues to just develop. It's not in its developed stage right now in the regions where we are, but certainly it's drawing more interest. People are wanting to know more about what the benefits, not only for them as individuals but for their organizations. And we shared stories about how more folks who are retiring from their corporate life are getting into the track of career, of coaching as a career after retirement. And it becomes a big advantage because they are bringing their experience, not so much to be telling, how to do things, mentoring, but going into the experience and just being able to share what it can do, how it can help folks. So we also said that as coaches, it's really an exciting time to be in, as we see coaching growing and folks getting more educated, because that's part of the challenge that we see as well in these areas, educating people more about what coaching is, what coaching is not, and again, going back to the benefits of how it can help individuals and teams and organizations. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Te. I'm a bit conscious of time. So, Yelena, please, if you could post your comment in a chat, and we'll try. I'll do my best that we have some time towards the end of the session so that we can have a deeper discussion Actually, to be honest, I was not expecting that people will get so engaged, because usually it's so, like, oh, history. So it's really great to be there. But let's move on for now, and then I hope we open the floor for the deeper discussion towards the end. Yeah. So now, as we spoke, this was this blank slide for your comments that I'm gonna fill in after this hour. Yeah. So, I mean, to kind of shortly summarize, those socioeconomic factors and collective consciousness and economic challenges, such as insecurity, uncertainty, alienation, confusion, paradoxes, particularly during the late 20th century. Those are the factors that contributed to the growth of the coaching as independent discipline. Yeah. And now some four major shifts in collective consciousness that played a key role in this development were the complexity of postmodern society. Those of us who are maybe a little bit older than 20 or 30 will also remember, how the times has changed, and this VUCA world that we live in now for last already few decades. The globalization was another one, because this rise of global awareness and shifts in spiritual paradigms. Because of the globalization, there was a lot of, the influences also from Eastern tradition penetrated the Western society and the other way. And it was also, and it also happened the other way as well. So that brought a big shifts in awareness, in consciousness, in understanding. Of course, as mentioned before, in 60s, it started way before 60s, already after the World War II, but in 60s there was this huge expansion of this humanistic worldview. And why is this important? Because as we will see from psychology, those are the times where we first start to explore the positive traits, or examining the human species or exemplars who are not pathological, who are not sick. Yeah. So turning into this humanistic worldview is a big influence on development of coaching as a discipline. Yeah. And of course, one of the things on individual, and this is this growing trend towards individuation. So we lost the sense of communities. Also, the let's say something that was in Western world very present, a family as a nucleus of a society, that's also gone from 60s, 70s, 80s. So this trend of individuation, where people don't have so much support and who to talk to, they turn to professionals, and they don't need a therapy. So they don't need a psychotherapy, So this is also a big important factor in switch in collective consciousness. Yeah. And now finally, to kind of debunk certain myths. If coaching came from sports, if coaching came from mentoring, if coaching came from whatever, the evidence and the research data from all sources really agree that the key influences on coaching come from psychology and from business. Then, of course, there are other influences as well, but they are not so crucial or main. English is not my first language, so I'm missing some words. But there is also andragogy, human development, sports and performing arts. Yes, of course, but mostly, so the most important influences are from psychology and business. Also, the research shows that while psychology has a more significant impact on coaching theories and models of coaching, business has much stronger influence on the processes, practical tools, and application of coaching. Yeah. So to start from psychology, as Joe already mentioned, some of the forces in psychology that are most influential are at the first place humanistic and transpersonal model. You know, that those are force 3 and force 4 in psychology, usually called like that. So humanistic and transpersonal psychology, then the psychodynamic, and also cognitive behavioral. Yeah. So when we talk about what came from humanistic and transpersonal psychology, are models of growth and coaching relationship, because before that, you know, in psychotherapies, there would be a distance between the therapist and the client in these languages that have, you know, like plural, like in German, sie or du, or, you know, changing these relationships, Rogers, as the one who was really important, he was the founder of client-centered therapy, with the premises that the client has all resources and answers inside of them. Yeah, that was a great shift that comes with humanistic aspect, observing the person as a whole and resourceful, right? The shifts in consciousness and raising awareness is also coming from humanistic transpersonal model. I guess most of you know about this Maslow's pyramid of needs, right? But what's not so well known is that towards the end of his life, he put the 6th need on the top of the pyramid, and that was the need, not only the need for some-actualization, but the need for transcendence. So it was also coming from Western psychologists and scientists, the understanding that the spirituality and the spiritual aspect of human experience is intrinsic to us and necessary, the same as we need water or food or vitamins or love or social connection. So that's also made a big shift. Yeah. And also some others. Yeah. So, you know, as I said, this transpersonal perspective contributes through the idea of spiritual potential. Also this, you know, transpersonal and transcendental, so to say, quality of existence of our connections. So these would be kind of maybe main contributions from humanistic transpersonal model. Then, of course, we have the psychodynamic group that contributes mostly with insight into human nature and the dynamics that exist, so that the client is being immersed in the context of their lives and what's happening there, which, of course, today we explore in our coaching processes with our clients as well. Yeah. So, you know, some of the important things about growth, about knowing, about spiritual awakening in the second half of life, instincts, unfulfilled needs, concepts of knowing and understanding about the organization and the executives there as well, deepening the concept of self-awareness. So those would be kind of the main contributions from psychodynamic psychology. Then we have behavioral cognitive, that actually was then kind of separated, you know, cognitive psychology as a separate branch came into existence. And what we're getting from this group, of course, you know, they include techniques and models of behavioral change, techniques by which people consciously notice and change their own thoughts in order to achieve emotional and other benefits. So, you know, things like goal orientation, conscious thinking, progress checking, experimenting and adjusting. So those are some concepts that we use, of course, in coaching that came from behavioral and cognitive psychologists, you know, like creative imagination, mental models, and so on. Yeah, so things that we use a lot. Yeah. Yeah, as I mentioned, so I will kind of maybe jump this a little bit. Other influences from psychology come from developmental psychology, also something from clinical that was coming, you know, that models that are solution focused, like brief solution focused therapy. And so these kind of things were coming from developmental and clinical psychology. And of course, I think very important is establishing coaching psychology as a academic discipline. Yeah. So although psychologists have been acting as coaches for a long time, coaching psychology has only recently emerged as an applied and academic subdiscipline. Yeah. Now, in business, we have three main areas, as we said, processes, models, and come mainly from business. So three main areas are from management, organizational development, and consulting, and then smaller areas are training, career development, facilitation, human resources, and mentoring. Yeah. So the techniques used in coaching are influenced by managerial techniques for improving relationship through improving communication, right? So observation and feedback with the intention of helping others to improve their efficacy, efficiency, and performance. Yeah. So in the early stages of the use of coaching in management, coaching was called consultations at the workplace, you know, because there was it was this paradigm control task solution, you know, at that time. Yeah. So it was considered as a form of supervision, you know, the best way of training from a direct superior, you know, through consistent framework of thinking, focus on discussion, guided activities. You know, that's how superior would teach how to solve the problem or perform a better task. Yeah. Now, with the time, as the paradigm in organizational development and management changed, you know, so from that of control task solution, it changed to acknowledgement, creation, empowerment. Yeah. And that also changed the managerial perspective on coaching. And especially nowadays when we have this, you know, paradigm in at the workplace, which is vision, value, possibility. Yeah. Then the management perspective of coaching certainly includes, you know, a conscious and dedicated partnership, a style of communication, a relationship where facts are secondary, but communication that transforms and expands the vision, value, possibilities is looking forward. So from that perspective, coaching is seen today also as a leadership style. So today we learn also and employ coaching, leadership coaching style, right? Organizational development is a synthesis, as we know, of various related disciplines. And it brings to coaching concepts like employees can be trusted, they want to do good work, they want to be treated as adults, and so on. So things like sensitivity training, organizational diagnostics, process consulting, systems theory, that all comes from business as an influence to coaching. Yeah. From consulting, I think you know, it comes from the definition that the management consultant is a person who tries to influence a group or organization, but has no direct power of implement changes or implement programs. So with the primary goal of ensuring collaborative relationships, solving the problems in a way that stays solved, and ensuring equal attention to the problem and to the relationship. Yeah. So how does it sound to you? It sounds pretty much like coach or coaching to me. Yeah. As I said, other areas in business, training, learning, acquiring new skills, career development, facilitation that we also use, especially a lot in working with the groups or teams, in team coaching, human resources. And also we should certainly mention mentoring, which can include peer support, development, guidance, career advice, and so on. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing that is really important to mention, and we will maybe not go today so much into is a systems theory. Yeah. So it is really important to understand because the systems theory was developed in the first half of last century, from 20s to 60s. This theory sought to offer a unified approach to science to overcome many of the limitations of the dominant reductionistic approach to knowledge about the world at that time. Yeah. So this system views this approach views system as a whole, interdependent, and as such has a big influence on coaching. So I put here the way how Marshall Goldsmith defines it. He says that instead of taking and fixing and putting back a tree in the forest, you actually make the whole forest better, which is really important in coaching, especially today as we know it. Yeah, that's more complex, goes deeper, and so on. Yeah. I don't know. Should I go into explaining deeper into these concepts from cybernetics, from systemic thinking, that are really applied to coaching? Emphasizing on relationships and dynamics is important. Process over content, as I mentioned before, the how of communication is more important than what. So shifting the focus, to the dynamics of the conversation rather to the message details. Yeah. Then locating the problem, where is the locus of the problem. So as we know, as a coach, we should explore the entire system of the client, because human behavior cannot be understood separately if it's not within a social context that in which is happening. Yeah. And the first order, second order change is one of the basics of systemic thinking, which is about really understanding that the first order change happens in behavior, and when it does not affect other members, but when the organization group or a system cannot really accept the change made by the individual, then the structure has to change, which is a second order change. And this is something that is important for us as a coaches to understand. Yeah. Now, other influential areas. So finally, we are coming to sports and the famous Timothy Galway and the Inner Game of Tennis. In 1974, he came with this book. For many years, for long, I was told, and I thought that actually Timothy Galway is the father of coaching, and that's when coaching began. But this is not the truth. But it did have, of course, a big influence, and we do have influences from coaching. The Inner Game of Tennis really changed the focus from performance to the inner, to the things that are happening inside the person, and which is again grounded in these humanistic and transpersonal principles. But from sports we get enthusiasm, dedication, optimism, open-mindedness, humor, flexibility, authenticity, all these things that as a coaches we should look towards. Philosophy, I think it's a big lecture of 2 hours around how philosophy, of course, the philosophy was first before everything. Yeah, but both Eastern and Western philosophical traditions, analytical, existential, humanistic, phenomenological, theological, have really directly impacted coaching. Phenomenology, which emphasizes the pursuit of truth through subjective experience, for example, and so on. Philosophies of language, you know, as I remember, I don't know if any of you had a blessing to work with Julio Lala. He's the father of ontological coaching. He used to say that the language is a home of our being. So the understanding of that is also important. Performing arts as well, you know, relying on emotions, memories, support, safe space, portraying a character, you know, all of this stuff is actually coming from performing arts. But as we said, those are not so crucial influences, but the crucial influences and the origins of coaching as a discipline and profession comes from psychology and business. So, whoa, okay, I would now stop sharing, but I just don't know. It's here. Few minutes to the end, and wow, I don't remember when I was talking so much without stop. So please, if any of you would now have something to say, or have a question or a comment, or would like to start a discussion, Yelena from before that I so rudely didn't give a voice at that moment. So, please.
I'm actually that was amazing time management. So high five there. I'm really happy that AI has only been mentioned once during the whole conversation. And who knows where it's going to go. But isn't it just amazing how deep the foundations of coaching are? And if our clients knew where our work originates from, I wonder if there'd be even more buy-in. So that's my curiosity.
Yeah, well, one thing that I will not put on the slide, but I really have to share this slide, and I will try to put it in a, yeah, I put it in a chat because I didn't share it, and we have only 3 minutes. I mean, this is a really extremely brief summary, but mostly this material is grounded in a work of Vicky Brock. It is absolutely amazing. I mean, you will get it. I mean, this woman, she made a she did it was her doctoral thesis, and it's over 500 pages. But I strongly, deeply recommend dive into it or into her book, because it's really amazing how deeply and she researched different aspects. Okay, now
Anyone, any questions or comments for Irena before we close?
Yeah.
Please say her name again.
Vicky Brock. Okay, I can share the slide if I mean, I will ground the theory of the root and emergence in coaching. But I will be sending, you will have it in materials, and also I didn't put now the list of literature, but there are also some other things, but this is her work. It's really absolutely amazing, and absolutely amazing. And you can really, I mean, learn a lot. So Yelena, maybe.
Thank you. Just want to say thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
yeah.
Claire. Really nice to see you. Bye.
You too.
Oh, can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, great. Because I'm like on my phone, and I was on my way to IKEA for my portion of Swedish dumplings, but I managed to get in, and I listened to you all the time while waiting in a queue. So yes, thank you, Irena, for this kind of historical background of coaching. What I wanted to share is what we in the breakout room talked about is like coaching is still unregulated profession, and the professional bodies like the ICF and the MCC and accredited like thorough education and training and required mentoring and required supervision. That's what is very, very, very important for us professional coaches to give value and to be proud of our profession. And the second thing, well, because nowadays everyone can call themselves a coach, and it's very important for our clients as well to know who they can trust, and the ethics is very important there as well. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, thank you, Jelena, because that was really my final thought. I hope that we would have maybe more time for discussion on professional challenges that we are facing, as a profession that is so widespread that it's a worldview, it's an attitude, it's a way of being, right? It's so much more than a profession, but as a profession, as a discipline, I think this is really this is really the challenge, how the adaptation of the models and theories from so many different disciplines can be effectively, ethically, and professionally applied by people who do not have background in these disciplines. Yeah. So this is really, I think, an important challenge. And that is why, for this reason, this large global coaching associations, insist on continuous professional development through their accreditation processes. And yeah, I'm deeply involved in that as well, from, continuous professional development, personal development, as well as regular supervision. Yeah. And tomorrow we will have a full day on learning around professional supervision. So I hope to see some of you guys there tomorrow. I'm looking so much forward to the day tomorrow because some really, really great people who I admire and respect so much. So I'm looking forward to hear from them on very important aspect for us as a coaches in our profession. Amen. Okay, Claire.
Irena, you can take a breath. That was a fantastic, thorough, thought-provoking and wonderful session. And the time went so quickly. So clearly there was engagement. We need you back for more. We'd love to get you in next year as well. And maybe it's a discussion and a debate about the future. Irena, wonderful working with you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I put in the chat, everyone, the supervision 12 hours conference tomorrow. Do reach out if you need any further information, and also information on the next community cafe, which is on the 28th of October. Thank you again. Have a fabulous morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be, and see you tomorrow if you're attending.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
listening. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Well, I think I will send them. I mean, you will send the participants the slide
The
deck.
slides, sure. And if there's any message you want us to send with that,
Well,
then
it's
very
just
happy
if
to do
anybody
that.
would like to have anything more, then how to get in contact with me.
Yeah, sure. So we can give you your contact details as well.
Contact details. Please contact me via WhatsApp.
Yeah,
Because I'm criminally slow on emails.
There's that, and also your LinkedIn profile. Maybe we put that in the email.
Well, yeah, we can. So this is my further development. I did 2 posts in my life in LinkedIn, and one was like 2 weeks ago for this EMCC mentoring conference, and the other one was to invite people to come here. So I'm coming out into social media. Wow,
Fantastic.
that's
Fantastic.
that's a new thing for me, but and I have my challenges around that, because I don't know how to communicate very, like in these short messages, because, I would explain, I would say, I would. So yeah, learning.
That's because you're deep in knowledge, and it's hard to sum it up in a few lines.
Yeah, but it's also, yeah, it is about that. And also I'm not, you know, I mean, I'm very often not sure if the messages that I'm receiving, you know, how am I reading it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know so well this language of emoji for, you know, so this, you know, when somebody sends me a heart, I'm like, you know, is he flirting with me, you know, or think, because, and then I, you know, learn little by little. Yes, I'm so
Pleasure, Khalid, pleasure.